On this question, we get a nice opportunity to use the Desmos slider function. So notice we have an equation here, and they're saying that a is a constant. Now I know that can seem a little bit confusing because it's a letter and we're used to letters being referred to as variables. However, this is some number, some specific number, we just don't know it yet. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go ahead to the upper right corner, go to Desmos, get it into our viewing window that we'd like. I was working on another question, so I'm gonna go to the gear icon here and delete all. And let's say I go ahead and just type this in exactly the way that I see it. So 3x squared, you can use the keyboard that's at the bottom left corner here if you'd like to be able to do the squared with that button right here. Or something I actually prefer is once I have the X there, I like to press Shift 6, which activates the caret key on your keyboard. And that way it goes up and I can type the exponent. Now I'll press right to get back down. I'll put plus A, and then I'll click add slider. And then we'll go back here, finish this out. X minus 5 equals 0. So keep in mind, the goal is to figure out what would A have to be so that the solutions are -5 and 1/3. Now solutions is a synonym for x-intercepts. So when you understand that, you're basically looking here and you want to see what would I have to move A to so that I get the x-intercepts of -5 and 1/3. So I'm going to go ahead and play around here and I can see, okay, when I go this way, I'm getting closer to -5. I'm going to focus on -5. That seems like an easier one to identify. However, I need to go bigger than 10. So I'm going to click here again, and I'm going to change the range here. So maybe instead I'll go -20 to +20, and I'll just press enter. And then let's go ahead and see how the slider is working. All right, as I get here, it gets a little bit tough to move. It looks like I'm right at 14. Let me go ahead and confirm that by clicking here. Yep, -5, 0. And if I click here, oh, that's 1/3, 0. And we know that those were the two solutions. So we figure out that A is 14, and we could just move on. However, as you know by now, I like to show you the algebra behind it. So let me show you another approach that you could implement. The fact that they say that these are solutions means that if I plug in either one of those, whether I plug in -5 or I plug in 1/3, I'm going to get this to be 0. Now, the easier one to plug in my opinion, is going to be -5. So wherever there's an x, I'm going to go ahead and replace it with -5. And at this point, I could absolutely simplify it, and I'll show you how to do that. But something that's a neat observation, even though this a represents some constant, it's really a to the first. And so if my one unknown is to the first power, I can go ahead to my program solver, which is one of my top 5 MVPs. It's actually program number 5. And we're going to type in the left side the exact same way that I see it. So 3 parentheses. Make sure you use the negative key, which is right here. You don't want to use the minus key, otherwise you'll get an error. And then we have the squared. And then I'm going to go ahead and type plus. I'm going to put x because it's really the same as our unknown a. And then I'll put -5. And then here, notice this is just a regular -5. So I'm just going to do a normal -5, enter, and then the right side is 0. I get the same thing, 14. And then finally, if I were to simplify this by hand, I'm going to do order of operations. So I'm going to go ahead and do exponents here, which gives me 25. I have 3 times that. When I multiply these, I get -5a. I'll rewrite everything else. I get 75 minus 5a minus 5. I'll combine like terms to get 70. And then since I have one unknown here, I'm going to go ahead and move that to the other side. And then finally do my division. And again, you could use your calculator. For me, I like to do this division shortcut where I say, okay, how many times does 5 go into 7? 1 time with 2 left over. And 5 goes into 20 4 times. Either way, I get the answer is 14.